Today we will be learning about completing the square. What is completing the square? It is one of the methods we use to solve quadratic equations. We already know one of the methods, which is factoring, or the AC method. Another method we can use is quadratic equations, but in this video our focus is completing the square. What we're looking to do is to take an equation like this one and convert it into a perfect square form like that. Now before we continue, there's some prior knowledge that you need to have so you can understand and solve the problems like these. You need to know that a quadratic equation is written as ax squared plus bx plus c. That may not look like it all the time, but that's how it's represented. A, b, and c are coefficients in our problems. As we go along solving the problems, I'll be referring to the terms as the a term, b term, and c term, or sometimes I'll be referring to b as the middle term and a as the first term. You will also need to know some knowledge of expansion and factoring, like perfect squares and expanding brackets, just so solving the problem some things might seem familiar, and you would have probably already learned these if you're doing completing the square. Lastly, you'd need to know basic algebra like multiplication, addition, square roots, plus minus, and other things like that. Now let's begin with our first problem. We're going to start with a simple problem that is x squared plus 6x minus 9 is equal to 0. The first step we take is to move the c term, or in this case minus 9, to the other side by adding 9 to both sides. So we'll get the answer x squared plus 6x is equal to 9. I've left a space for a reason, as you'll see in the next step. Now what we're going to do with that empty space is that we're going to add 6 divided by 2 whole square, and we're going to add 6 divided by 2 whole square on the other side as well. The reason we do this is because in completing the squares, the step we take is to add b divided by 2 whole square, b being the middle term, so we're adding that to both sides. This then simplifies down to x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 9 plus 9, which is 18. Now if you notice, x squared plus 6x plus 9 is a perfect square if you've done expansion and factoring. So you already know that this is going to simplify down to x plus 3 whole times x plus 3. This is essentially what we're doing in completing the squares, where we're trying to get a perfect square, but it might not always be the case where we have a perfect square like this. So what we have to do to get our answer is we're going to write it in the terms of x plus b by 2 whole square. This happens to be the same thing because that is how it works out. Now we're done with all the complicated steps of completing the square. All that's left to do is to solve the question like you normally would, using your simple algebra skills. So what we're going to do is we're going to square root both sides, which gives us x plus 3 on the left, and we're going to get plus minus square root of 18. So in the next step we're going to add minus 3 from both sides, which gives us x minus 3 plus minus square root of 18, which simplifies down to square root of 9 and square root of 2, which again simplifies down to 3 root 2. So our final answer is x is equal to minus 3 plus minus 3 square root 2. As a really quick recap, we're going to do this step by step. First step is to move the c term to the right side of the equation. So in this case we move 9 to the right. Next, what we have to do is that we have to add b divided by 2 whole square to both sides. So this would be 6 divided by 2 whole square on both the sides. Next, we're going to have to form a perfect square out of what we have on the left side after all the addition is done. This is going to be done using x plus b by 2 whole square. From this point, we just do simple algebra to get our answer for x. Moving on to problem number 2, it's slightly different than problem number 1, where we have a value for the first term, or a. We'll be using the equation 2x squared minus 10x minus 3 is equal to 0. We'll do the same first step, which is moving c to the other side, so we'll be adding 3 to both sides to get 2x squared minus 10x is equal to 3. Now this is where it's different from the first problem. Since we have a different value than 1 for the a term, which in this case is 2, we have to convert the coefficient for x squared to 1. We're going to do this by dividing the whole equation on both sides by 2. Once we've done that, we get the values x squared minus 5x is equal to 3 by 2. From this point, it's the same as the first problem, where we do the step which is we add b by 2 whole square to both sides. In this case, b is equal to minus 5, so note you don't make a mistake by just writing 5, that's what some people do. So we can just simplify this by squaring the brackets, which will give us 25 by 4, so we add that to both sides instead of doing it in the next step. In this case, the expression that we have to make a perfect square is x squared minus 5x plus 25 by 4. So we're going to use the solution, which is x plus b by 2 whole square, which will give us this answer. So in this case, that would be x plus minus 5 by 2 whole square. And since it's minus 5, we can just replace the plus with the minus. On the right hand side, we just add together the fractions, which will give us 31 by 4. Instead of writing out the whole last few steps, I've just given you the answer right away, which you should get, which is x is equal to 5 plus minus square root of 31 divided by 2. Now for problem 3, I'm going to get you to solve it yourself, and we're going to have a negative value in x, and you're going to use the previous information to solve this one. So our question is going to be minus x squared minus 6x plus 7 is equal to 0. Pause the video and then you can see the solution after you've solved it. Now if you were paying attention, you would have realized that to solve the problem, your value for the coefficient of x squared must be 1, not negative 1. So if you just continued right away like this, your answer would have probably been wrong. I gotta keep you on your toes. So to put it simply, the way we solve this problem is to move c to the other side like we've done with all our other problems, and then we multiply it by minus 1, so we get rid of the negative coefficient to get a positive for x squared. So we have 1 as a coefficient for x squared now. From this point, we just do the same steps as in problem 1 and problem 2, and then we should end up with the answer, a very nice answer of x is equal to minus 7 or minus 1. Now just a few extra notes that you might want to know is that you cannot apply the completing square method to something like this equation, which is 7x squared minus 121 is equal to 0, because there is no b term. So in this case, you just leave it be and use another method. And say we get something like the equation, the answer I'm writing on the board, which is minus 3 plus minus square root of negative 31 divided by 2. We cannot get an answer because there's a negative square root. So you should just simply put it as there's no real solutions to this problem. Congratulations, you're now done with completing the square. If you want to just go through anything again, just rewind back into the video and see what you want to just relearn. Otherwise, you're done. Thank you for watching the video.